Sometimes you look out of the window and you see there's a storm not too far from where you are. It's right in front of you. It's coming toward you fast. Huge dark clouds, wind picking up. You can see it, you can smell it, you can feel it coming. It's gonna be around you, around your house, around you where you are in minutes. And then it starts raining. It's lightning, thunder, everything. You feel it by your skin. But sometimes you look out of the window and the picture is different. Picture perfect. Sunny skies, no clouds, perfect weather. But all of a sudden you look at your barometer and see that barometric pressure is dropping down fast and low. And right then, at that moment, you know that a huge storm is coming your way. It's not there yet. You don't see it. It's far away. But it's coming. It's 100% guaranteed. No way around it. It's going to be right where you stand in a few hours. But the picture is still perfect. You know exactly that it's true, that you're going to feel it with your skin just a little bit later. Well, this is what happened in Russia, figuratively speaking, of course. On February 24th, 2022, last year, an event happened that changed the future of Russia and Ukraine. Russia attacked Ukraine. So many things in Russia changed instantly, just like that. Some were felt right away, and some weren't. For example, crashing Russian currency, ruble, was seen right away. Happened in a matter of days. Or skyrocketing prices, food prices, you could see them, right? You could actually feel them with your wallet. And other things, it was obvious that they were coming, but they weren't there yet. For example, what I'm going to be talking about, a disaster in Russia's aviation industry. Right after the start of war, things didn't change overnight, As a matter of fact, things were business as usual for sometimes weeks and sometimes months. But we all knew that big trouble in the aviation and in other industries, in other ways of our lives are coming. They were on the way. And it was just a matter of some time, a few months. And now, 18 months later, we're feeling the troubles with our skin. It's like a big storm happening. And in this stream, I'll tell you what's happening with Russian planes, why they started hard landing all of a sudden, and why Russian airlines, Boeings, and Airbus, American and European planes, very reliable ones, will be crashing soon. Howdy, everyone. My name is Konstantin. Welcome to Inside Russia, where usual Russia is explained by the unusual Russian. I would like to talk about the aviation industry, what's happening, what happened, and what will happen. And I'm talking about it because it's trouble. On this channel, you will not find BS, lies, or propaganda. You will find truth, common sense, and logic, and some emotions, because I am a human being. And after I am done with the message, the aviation message, the plane message, then I invite everyone to join me in a live stream chat to discuss things. And, I'll try to answer all the questions I can. Thank you. I'd like to talk a little bit in general about flying. Do you know what concerns me before I take a flight? Before I go to the airport, at the airport, the top concern is being on time, actually not missing the flight. Not like I ever missed a flight. Well, actually, I missed once. And I have flown, 500, 600, 700 times, 1,000 times perhaps, many times. But I did miss one flight, but it was not my fault, but Dmitry Medvedev's fault. While he was still the president, he made me miss the flight. But if you want to hear the story, remind me in a live stream chat, and I will gladly tell you just a couple minutes story. Another concern is how comfortable the seats, airplane seats are. I hate uncomfortable seats, and they actually vary from airline to airline. Big deal. Another concern is where I sit, aisle or window, in the nose of the plane or at the tail. I like to sit where the emergency exits are. There's more legroom. And there are other small concerns, not big ones, you know. And what are your concerns before you take a flight? Please let me know in the comments below. But I'll tell you one thing. What is never my concern? Never. My concern is never safety. I am never concerned of my safety when I travel. I never worry. I never stress out. I never even think about it. I take safety of my flying for granted. For granted. And I'm pretty sure that most of you, you do also. Because flying is the safest way to travel. It's true. Why? The statistics. Your odds of being in a car accident during a flight is 1 in 1.2 million. And the chances of that accident being fatal are 1 in 11 million. Now, your chances of dying in a car crash, conversely, are 1 in 5,000. 1 in 11 million, 1 in 5,000. You see the difference? This is just like most of you, am never concerned of flying. The chances are in our favor, and nothing will happen to us. Now, why is this so? Have you ever thought about it? It's actually very simple to explain and very simple to understand. It's not rocket science. It's plane science. Flying, not in the plane, but flying in general, is quite dangerous for human beings. We aren't designed to fly like birds. We are designed to walk. And every time we get airborne, the law of gravity tries to bring us down, actually does bring us down, and the higher we are airborne, the harder we crash. I've crashed a few times, playing basketball, jumping, I don't know, things like that, and it hurts. And then come planes. In the past, when humans were taking first steps in flying, and flying was pretty dangerous, pretty darn dangerous. Many people died. And by the way, we have not been flying for very long, for about 150 years. So just think about it. That's actually quite amazing. 150 years. We've come a very long way since then. Now, in order to make flying the safest transportation in the world, a new industry was born. Again, not too long ago, just a few decades ago. It's called aviation. It's the rules and the principles of aviation that make it the safest way to travel. You need knowledgeable people, you need reliable technology, and you need procedures to make flying safe. The safety of air travel depends on 1, technology, top technology really, 2, training and certification, 3, checks and balances, 4, maintenance, 5, on top of everything, airline authorities and regulations. And that's it. The entire industry is designed and built as one. Aviation is about holistic approach. Even if, just imagine this, even if one mistake is made, one check isn't done, one rule isn't learned by a pilot, one situation is unfamiliar to a pilot, the result is malfunction or a mistake that leads to crash. Hundreds of deaths. The law of gravity is ruthless. whatever flies must come down. So the way aviation industry is built, it minimizes mistakes. And this is why most of us are never concerned of air travel. But enough of general, let's talk about Russia. Russian aviation industry. Russia had own aviation industry when it was the USSR. Being isolated from the rest of the world, USSR was forced, first, to research its own technology, second, to build industry of plane making, the hardware, and three, to actually design its own system of safety, And I got to tell you, the USSR did a pretty good job in doing all of that. The hardware was different, but the principles that I described above, the 5 principles, they were absolutely the same. And the Soviet plane flights were also very, very safe. But then an incredible thing happened. The USSR fell apart overnight, just like that. And Russia's aviation industry was born. And it started getting integrated into the global aviation industry, step by step, year by year, decade by decade. Soviet planes were reliable, but they were very uncomfortable. So the customers started voting with their rubles, not dollars, but the rubles, in the 90s and in 2000s. And old Soviet planes were basically, in 15 years, they were replaced by brand new Boeings and Airbuses. First, Russian airlines were buying used planes, but then they switched to brand new ones. They started buying at the manufacturers themselves. And old Soviet planes, Twos and Eels were out of the door, and American Boeings and European Airbuses were flying inside Russia. It took Russia a couple decades to fully integrate into global aviation industry. It was a bit slow, but it happened. And everyone was happy, myself included. I flew so many times. They were some weeks I flew, a few times a week because I did lots of work traveling. So Russian aviation industry was finally integrated into the global one. And what do I mean by saying fully integrated? The planes made in foreign countries and completely domesticated, Russified for the Russian market. Maintenance centers established inside Russia, and the maintenance was done inside Russia. So the planes would always be safe. Russian pilots receiving international training, just like other pilots throughout the world. Foreign companies selling Russian airlines planes and insuring the flights and the planes and the companies and the operations. So Russian airlines would be flying all over the world, and they did. And that's what I mean by February of 2022, Russian aviation industry was completely integrated into the world. It became a part of world's aviation, really a global market, so to speak. So as of February 22, right before the start of the war, there were 800 Boeings and Airbuses, the planes that belonged to Russian airlines. And they were all leased out to the airlines by foreign leasing companies. It was much cheaper, much easier, and much more convenient than going to a Russian bank, taking out loan, buying a plane, and so forth. Why? To invent a will. The will was invented a long time ago. So everyone does that. Everyone leases planes. So Russian airlines also leased the planes. And it worked fine for everyone. Except for not everyone starts wars, invades other countries, and starts killing the neighbors. Very few countries do that. And Russia did. First came economic sanctions, right a few days after the start of the war, right after the few days after Russia started attacking Ukraine. Almost immediately after the start of the war, the economic sanction came. And the leasing companies immediately asked Russian airlines, to return the planes. First of all, they demanded the planes to stop flying inside and outside Russia, and they demanded so the Russian airlines would return all planes home outside Russia to foreign countries. Oops. And guess what happened? Russian airlines said, no, we will not return. The planes are our property now. That's been force majeure. You know, no one planned for war. We didn't plan for war, but it happened. We will not return your property. You will not receive it back. So the Russians basically stole 800 planes, Boeings and Airbuses from the rightful owners, the leasing companies. I could be wrong, but I think most of the leasing companies, due to tax legislation, were located in Ireland, and of course they belonged to international companies. And then all hell broke loose. The international sanctions followed immediately. You know, let me tell you, it was a very bad choice for Russian airlines to steal the planes. But if they gave the planes away, they'd be left without planes, because no Russian planes, you know, all foreign ones. So the international sanctions followed. The European Union banned immediately all exports of all planes and spare parts to Russia, as well as maintenance and insurance. The United States did the same. So no Airbus could be serviced, could be delivered, supplied with spare parts. No Boeing could be insured. You know, you get the picture. Moreover, leasing companies started arresting Russian airplanes, Russian airlines planes. Well, it's really their planes, but leased to Russian airlines, once those planes landed anywhere outside Russia. And the leasing companies started doing it in a perfectly legal way, just recovering the planes that were stolen from them. Basically, Russian aviation industry was isolated from the world overnight again, just like the Soviet industry, except for one little thing. The Soviets, they had built their own industry, you know, and actually decent planes, not comfortable, no, but they were actually flying. They did not crash. They did not malfunction. There was industry. There were planes produced every single year. And in Russia, there's nothing. And that's the difference. And this what the Russians started doing to survive. First of all, last spring, 2022, Putin's friends who owned large corporations of different kinds, they started coming to Putin, meeting him, and begging for money for aid so they could design own planes, Russian planes, you know, Russian-made domestic planes, you know, we're the heroes, we're the best in the world. Well, we don't have planes, but hey, if you give us $1 trillion, we'll design one very fast in 6 years, and then it's going to take us to build them for probably another 4 years. So, hey, not a big deal. We're not asking much. That, to give you an idea, you know. So they started asking money to design and build spare parts. You know, it's not really difficult to build the fuselage, the body of a plane, and it was done before in the USSR. What's difficult is to build the insides, the electronics, the semiconductor that goes in, the avionics, the navigation systems, you know, and most difficult, the engines. Now, listen to this. Russians could not build one decent car engine in 30 years. They couldn't build one decent car shift gearbox, okay? Just a car. I mean, car is not a rocket science, let alone airplane engine. All engines to the plane, one plane has been produced was produced in Russia, and it was considered a Russian plane, SSJ-100, called Airbus. No, not Airbus. Superjet. I'm sorry, Superjet. Turns out navigation system was made in Italy, and the engines came from France. So it was not really a Russian plane. So anyway, airplane engines simply cannot be built in Russia for the next, I would say 49 and a half years. Then after, we will see, but not 49 and a half years. There's just no way. But there's been lots of money that Putin gave to his friends. Number two, in order to, like I said, there are principles in the aviation industry. In order to fly safely, you need to do a few things. First of all, you need top-notch technology. Second, you need training and certification. Then you need checks and balances. You need maintenance. And on top of everything, you need the watchdog, an authority to make sure everyone follows the rules. And if someone doesn't, prosecute harshly. Okay? So imagine that you don't have spare parts. You cannot do maintenance. You can not train your pilots anymore and things like that. So what do? You just need to fly planes because you cannot stop the planes. The aviation industry will collapse and the Russians will not be happy. So you change protocols, you change rules, you change maintenance rules, you change maintenance intervals, you change checks and balances, okay? You don't make them as tough anymore. So if there are some minor problems, before, if there's any problem, minor, major, the plane is grounded, boom, it needs to be fixed, the problem needs to be taken care of. Now, if it's a little problem, you still can fly because it does not affect safety. Bigger problem, well, it's up to discretion of the pilots. Bigger problem, it's up to discretion of the technicians. That's something like that, just to give you an idea. There were so many new regulations and laws, executive orders were the procedures were changed. For example, 1st September 2022, new rules for pilots examinations. 2nd November of 2022, new airline licensing, new airport licensing. 26th of April 2023, new plane maintenance rules. And I can go on and on because, those, we call them executive orders. There's been a plenty, okay? Again, the goal is to change maintenance, checks and balances, and licensing procedures so the planes keep on flying, even though it's less safe. Like I said before, no maintenance, no maintenance according to the rule, you're grounded. Now, the maintenance you don't have to do as often, and if something wrong, it's up to your discretion to fly, something like that. What they started doing more is airlines started cannibalizing its own planes. It started as soon as June of 2022. I was very surprised. I thought that the planes would fly longer without maintenance, just like a car. It keeps on going and going. No, plane is much more complicated. Like I started learning what aviation industry is, and I learned tons of stuff about that, okay? So you cannot fly a plane for a long time. 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, every 3 months you have to go through certain maintenance procedures, and I think every 6 months or so you have to rehaul the engines and things like that, So what do Russian companies do, airlines? They take some planes and they put them aside and take them apart for the spare parts, cannibalize them. And there's no statistics about that. I noticed that there were news in 2022, but then this news is kind of disturbing. Do you find? I do. And what they started doing, this news just disappeared from the informational space of Russia. I don't know how many planes are being cannibalized. There's no statistics, and I tried to learn. I tried to find research. Tried to find data, and no such luck. But I take it that if first cannibalization cases started last June, now 14 months later, that many more cases like that. Number 4. Ministry of Aviation and Transportation started creating new ways, discovering, researching new ways of getting spare parts, because you need spare parts. There's no way around it. There are 2 ways to get around the sanctions. First is to get original spare parts manufactured by Boeing and Airbus from Europe, from the United States, through third countries and through specially created companies that help to avoid sanctions. You set up a company in China, in India, in Kazakhstan, and then you build a logistic chain. You buy a part in America, ship it to China, then Kazakhstan, then Armenia, and then it ends up in Russia. But it's actually a very complicated way. It's much easier to buy a car that way and import to Russia than a spare part for an airplane, because they're all numbered, and people who sell you the part, they know exactly for what plane that part goes to. So it's a very, very tough way. Not too many spare parts are imported to Russia using that way. What they came up with a new way. They buy knockoffs, the unofficial, uncertified parts from India, Iran, and African countries. Some from China, but China does not have great aviation industry, okay, and they do not produce many fake parts, okay, it's not their thing. Just like they don't produce equipment that extracts oil, because they don't have oil extracting industry. So, big problem with an unauthorized, unofficial parts. Quality. Quality is crap, basically. And it's not what you use in the planes to fly safely, okay? Remember those odds of dying in a plane crash? 1 in 11 million. I think if you have Iranian parts in your plane, that the odds, they kind of come down and equal out to odds in the car, 1 in 5,000. From 1 in 11 million to 1 in 5,000, something like that. So you get idea. Now, Russian Minister of Transportation and Aviation came out and last spring, when it was clear at the time that Russian airlines were in trouble because, they couldn't fly overseas anymore and they couldn't get maintenance, spare parts, and so forth. So the minister came out and he was meeting Putin, and he said, Vladimir Vladimirovich, do not worry. We will be using Iranian experience, the whatever Iranians have come up with, we will copy that. And Putin said, okay. Well, what Iran did, it started doing the same thing as Russians started doing in 2022, but only back in the 90s when international sanctions were placed upon Iran. The minister said that Iranians successfully replace most spare parts, most plane parts, but he failed to mention that Iran, just like any other country in the world, had fantastic track record of safety for its aviation industry before the sanctions were placed upon Iran. In other words, all that time that Iran was able to buy planes from Americans and Europeans to maintenance them, perform maintenances at the manufacturers, get official spare parts, do the checks and balances, train pilots, then Iranian air travel was absolutely safe. But once it was placed under sanctions and once it started coming out with Mickey Mouse ways of, keeping planes together, so to speak, the track record of safety has gone down tremendously. There have been numerous crashes with hundreds, perhaps thousands of victims and numerous incidents. Iranian air travel is considered one of the unsafest in the world, okay? And basically, Russian minister, officially talking to Russian president, admitted that Russia is going to follow Iranian footsteps. Basically, he officially said, we're going to make our very good aviation industry and take it to, a place where it's not going to be safe anymore, okay? That's what he said. And if we look closely at the Iranian experience, at the Iranian history of, aviation decline, in Iran, kind of same thing started happening in the late 90s that is happening in Russia right now. First, it had decent, very good planes. The planes had lots of reserve, so to speak, redundancy, You don't, even if you don't do maintenance, your Boeing or Airbus will still fly for a few months, okay? But because there are just so much safety reserves in the planes. But the problems, they start with chassis. Chassis is takeoff, landing, and so forth, and the brakes. And this would happen in Iran. First, they were just problems, breakdowns, the planes were grounded, they spent lots of time at the airports. And then the problems got worse, and then catastrophes started happening. In Russia, we are following Iran's footsteps. There have been numerous accidents with chassis. Chassis go first, okay? They need to be, I'm not an expert, but I think they need to be replaced more often. They need to be of high quality. They need to be looked, checks and balances must be performed very, very thoroughly and often and so forth. And in 2022 already, Russia started feeling the pain. Like I said, in June, they started cannibalizing Russian planes. The first airline was from Kazan. They made it public, and in Russia, everyone was like, oh, no way. And everyone was scared, and I think that's why they don't make it those news anymore. They don't talk about cannibalizing planes. 130 accidents with planes happened in 2022 alone, and 28 crashes. 130 accidents and 28 crashes. And first week of 2023, first 7 days, brought 7 incidents. Every day, something would happen to a major airline's plane, passenger plane. And that trend has continued to further into 2023. I personally have faced incidents with planes. Not like I flew to Russia, not once, but a friend of mine, his name is Eugene, he had his family flying from Moscow to Astana, Kazakhstan, and they missed their plane. They were in a plane, but it caught on fire. The plane caught on fire before taking off, taxiing, okay? They were evacuated, and they had to wait for 24 hours for the next plane, and then they flew to Astana. My friend Eugene does not fly his family with Russian airlines anymore. He uses either Uzbek Airlines or Kazakh Airlines. Really anything but Russian. Okay, my friends had problem with chassis. Chassis broke off at the takeoff. Not at the takeoff. Chassing before the takeoff. Not chassing. Taxiing. This term is called taxiing. When the plane is just, riding around. They had to be moved to a different plane. It was a Russian airline. And this is just two personal cases with people I know, okay? The news have been plentiful around smaller accidents. Again, in Russia, in Russian news, they try to downplay this problems. But if you read the news from outside Russia, then that's basically they tell the truth. And the climax happened today. I don't know if you heard or not, but there was a big accident today. Passenger plane, Boeing 320, had a hard landing on a wheat field this morning in the central Russia. I have personally flown on Boeing 320. It's like a workhorse of planes, okay? It's a fantastic plane, not extremely comfortable. I like Dreamliner, Boeing 767, the Dreamliner, much better. But hey, Airbus 320 is good enough, okay? It's incredibly reliable. It never breaks, and it's just a good plane to fly on. Of course, it never breaks if it undergoes scheduled maintenance and the spare parts replaced according to schedules. And if it doesn't, it's bound to fail. And it failed today, this morning. The hydraulics system failed, and the pilots couldn't even make to the nearest airport. They had to emergency. They had to hard land the plane in emergency way in the middle of nowhere on a field of wheat. And no one was harmed. The pilots did a fantastic job landing the plane. I think they're heroes. But guess what happened later today, in the Russian propaganda? The propaganda personalities, at least some, started bashing those plane pilots for not being able to make it to the nearest airport and land it in a normal way. They started bashing them for not being professional enough to do that, okay? And instead of honors, they deserve punishment and prosecution. They need to be thrown to jail. They're trying to downplay. They're trying to say, hey, what you did was your fault, the plane was fine, and you made Russia look bad. I have no comments here. Aviation industry must be sustainable and ever improving to be safe. And it's been built that way from the ground up. Everywhere. Everywhere. You must follow the rules, all rules, because they're created specifically to keep everyone safe. You have to follow all regulations. You have to service regularly, check all the time, maintain, replace parts. Otherwise, plain and simple, your hardware fails. Aviation has a large safety reserve. If you take a plane, it can fly, but sooner or later it will start falling apart. In Russia, the airlines have used up their safety reserve. This system of checking the hardware, doing the maintenance, doing the licensing and relicensing, continuous training and exercises and all of that, this system has been broken. But what's even worse, that something has been broken right here in the heads of Russians. That's even much more dangerous than just not caring for your hardware. And I'm telling to you, everyone who's watching me right now, and I'm telling it to the Russian people too, embrace yourself for the catastrophes to come. In a situation like that, I usually say, "Oh, I have my popcorn ready right here, and I'm sitting waiting." And no, not this time. I don't want this to happen. I don't want to have my popcorn. I don't want to sit and wait. No, please. I will be praying so it doesn't happen. But you know what? If I ever need to fly someone inside Russia, outside Russia, within Russia, inside Russia, I will be doing my best not to pick up Russian airlines. Even if the tickets are lower cost, even the tickets for foreign non-Russian airline costs much more, it doesn't matter. It's not about the price of the tickets anymore. It used to be. I used to look at the price and get the cheapest, but it's not about the price. I just don't want anyone to fly Russian airlines because the whole system in Russia has been broken. And 18 months later, it starts falling apart. Unfortunately, I think that the catastrophes are inevitable. Whose fault is that? One guy comes to mind. It's Putin's and his friends. And the blood of passengers will also be on his hands and hands of his buddies. And this, my friends, has been the message of today. Thank you so much for coming, listening. Thank you for giving me a chance. It's my pleasure and honor to have you here. We have 4,400 people right now, which is very good size for a live stream. Thank you for coming. I would like to turn on the live stream chat and invite you to talk, and I will try to answer as many questions as possible. While I'm turning the live stream chat on, I would like to ask you a favor, as usual. Please help me spread the message by making posts in your social media accounts. It really helps. It feeds YouTube algorithm, and the message is spread more. And if you'd like to buy me a coffee, I would not mind. Thank you so much. Live stream chat is on. And I am ready. If you're here for the first time, I'd like you to know that we have the best moderation team here. Lorna, Mommy K, Bob S, Mr. Harry Portman, who is an airline pilot, by the way, and I would like Harry to, Harry, you are the king of live stream chat today. Would you please comment on what I said? If you agree, disagree, basically give me your feedback as pilot, please. And Mr. Harry Portman and Prince Amir Fazad. So the best mods that exist. Thank you so very much for coming. And the usual suspects, fantastic to see everyone here. I miss you. And this live stream chat is actually the high of my day. Every single day. So thank you. Thank you very much for coming. And if you want me to see your message easier, higher chances to see and answer it, then please put it in caps and put Inside Russia after @ so it's highlighted in orange and I see it better. Thank you so much again, the mods. Thank you for the usual suspects. Thank you. Airborne Snail. I was actually thinking about you. I remember the name, Airborne Snail. When I was thinking over that part of humans designed to walk, not to be airborne. Roger Williams, Susan, John, Jess Terry, Julie W, Ferrari Guy, Great Southern Land, Jodes Rames, Ken's Family, Blue Daisy, Keith, Koshkin Dome, Baker Stock, Ken, Scott, Caesars, Lord of Grape, Magnus, Petra, Howdy, Roy Cousins, and Isma, Wow, Marinos, KG1, Leitmotiv, Veronica, Mario, Lilith, Eden, Sam K, David Starbuck. We have Mr. Starbuck here from Florida, Pavle Flex, Luigi, Frank in Texas, Multi-Ducky from Germany, Karina, Viking, White Lightning, Pamela J. Well, the usual suspects. Thank you for coming, friends. There's a super chat from MacFun. Thank you so much from Switzerland. When a reactor cover for Bisnow had to be replaced in 2014, Russia one of three countries in the world that was able to build such large steel objects in sufficiently good quality. Besnow. What's Besnow? Besnow. You know, I never said that Russia cannot do anything. It can. But Russia cannot. I was talking to some engineers, Russian engineers, and their opinion is this. Look, we have excellent design engineers that can invent something. But we do not have engineers, production engineers that can build that what was invented, okay? That's why there are so many people that take their inventions to the West, make millions, create great products, you know, invent entire industries, you know, that come from Russia. Because in Russia, they simply cannot manufacture things on large scale with good quality and so forth. But in Russia, there are a lot of talented people, talented engineers. And this, if a government sets a goal, you know, or scares them into do something or motivates them, that they can do things. So I agree with you. White Lightning, thank you. Why can't Russia just bring back old Soviet planes? I'm sure they are in storage. The seats can be taken out of Western planes for comfort. No, they, you know, impossible. I think, is your question like for real or is it a joke? It's impossible, okay? Because plane consists of the body, the fuselage, and electronics inside, and many systems and engines. And if you have planes sitting for decades, everything will simply rust out, okay? And I'm pretty sure that there are no planes in storages because they all cut them up and sold them as, you know, just metal, you know, aluminum and things like that, you know. So I don't think there are any planes left. The only ones, the very old ones, they still fly here and there, but mostly they've been replaced by Boeings and Airbus. And X-Flying Tiger, John and Nikki from Lake Shasta. Oh, that's fantastic. I'm a retired airline pilot. Pilots of the A320 did a fantastic job. It could have easily turned out to be much worse. Hey, I am not a pilot, John. I understand also that they did a fantastic job, okay? Because a wheat field is not designed for, you know, to be for as an airstrip, okay? It's a wheat field. And an airplane is not designed to be landed on a wheat field. So I think they did a fantastic job. But they're being bashed right now. Unprofessional. Oh, stupid. They couldn't make it to the nearest airport. You know, it's their problem that, you know, they got to be held responsible for all the damages and stuff like that. So crazy. Mad Circus continues, you know. MacFun, Besnow, one of 3 nuclear power plants in Switzerland on the island of Besnow. Okie dokie, thank you for clarifying that. Understood. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Russian nuclear industry is top notch. Okay, it's safe, it's capable, There are so many power plants, nuclear power plants, working throughout Russia. They're fairly safe. After Chernobyl blew up, there are so many changes have been made. And it's one of the industries that actually Russia is leading the world, along with France and the United States. Robert Whip, thank you so much. All my friends are also following you on YouTube after telling them about your channel. Robert, thank you so very much. It warms my heart. Thank you. It's actually, you know what? When I read a message, super chats are very welcome because this is what I live off. I feed my family off YouTube. But it's not the most important part of my work. I don't do it for the super chats. I do it for the words like yours. Okay, because it makes me feel so good. It makes me feel that what I do is liked by other people. By the way, I didn't mention a couple days ago, my stream was cut short and I didn't go into the message, but an incredible thing happened to me a couple days ago on Sunday. A friend of mine from Ukraine came to visit, explore possibilities in the business of constructing power plants. And we had another friend from Ukraine also, that the guy that I met through Tashkent Breakfast Club. And we had a local guy Uzbek, and four of us, we were sitting and having a Sunday breakfast at a hotel where my friend stayed. And we were just discussing, personal things, business, and all of a sudden this guy comes up and it was absolutely amazing. I'm pretty emotional still, This guy comes up and he looks at me, he goes, "Konstantin, is that you? Am I not mistaken?" And I said, "Well, yes, it's me, And he spoke Russian, but not broken, but with accent, like his second language. And he said, "Well, I watch your streams." And how fantastic, like you have a feeling of like warmth when someone comes to you on the street, recognizes you and tells you, "Hey, you know what? I really like what you do online. I follow you." And this guy comes up and he says that. And I am, very honored, and I tell them, "Thank you so much. And, would you like to join us and have some breakfast with us?" And he's very friendly. He comes and joins us. And he says, "Well, I follow your Tashkent Breakfast Club news." And I said, "You know what? After we're done having this breakfast I was having with friends, I'm going to go to another breakfast at Tashkent Breakfast Club, and I invite you to come with me, join us, and just, we have fantastic lecture by a couple from Mariupol." And he said, "Well, I'd love to, but I can't. I'm leaving, I'm leaving Uzbekistan." And he said, "Well, by the way, I am ambassador of Estonia in the Central Asia." And it was true. He gave the card, he gave his number, and I was like, wow, I was speechless. And he sent me a message saying, "It's an honor speaking to you, and you know what, Mr. Tier's honor was really mine if you're watching, because if you watch me in Estonian embassy, and people from the embassy, that it just makes me, I don't know how to explain. It's really such a huge feedback of what I do is liked and found interesting, found useful by people, and that's what it's all about. So, thank you. Thank you so much. It was a very emotional moment. And Robert, this is also an emotional message that your friends are, following me on YouTube. Thank you. White Lightning, why can't some of the heavy military transport planes and bombers be converted to carry passengers? Example, 747 Boeings were originally military. Well, imagine this, You take entire industry and rehaul it. It takes years and years, perhaps decades, to build planes, because there are no more planes left. Not planes, plants. You build plants first to convert. It's complicated. All you need is to stop the war. Withdraw Russian troops back to Russia. Make peace with Ukrainians. Make amends. Admit your fault. Apologize. Beg for forgiveness. Go to Germans and ask them, hey, please teach us how to become normal again. Tell us what you have done. It's much faster, much easier, and it's much more right, rather than rehauling the planes, the military planes, into passenger planes. The Boeing will come back. Airbus will come back probably, or one way or another. Well, at least they will be servicing planes that are flying in Russia. So I think that's the wrong direction, plain and simple. We gotta look. I at least look at the different things. I look at ending the bloodshed between Russia and Ukraine first. Airborne Snail, thank you so much. No message, but this message is heard. Thank you and appreciate it. Debbie Bonnets, Putin was supposed to be dying. He has no sign of illness anymore. What happened? Whoa. Hold your horses. When is the last time you saw real Putin? I haven't seen him since probably February 21st, when he was addressing the nation. And even then, I wasn't sure that was Putin. So tell me exactly where you saw real Putin lately. Because I haven't. There was a question from May about Maine and it jumped. Michael Barnett, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And Daniel McInnes, thank you also. Thank you. Carolyn, thank you so much. I was shocked to see them tear that plane apart into pieces. No investigation. Tear that plane apart into pieces. I'm not sure which one you mean. The one that I landed in the wheat field? I didn't see them tearing it into pieces. Perhaps for transportation. But the thing is, it actually makes perfect sense. Look, the plane landed. The chassis of the plane gone. There was some kind of a fire outside. You could see, can clearly see the burn signs, the burn marks, the black burn marks. So integrity of fuselage is broken. Hard landing, probably all electronic systems are messed up. Okay, what do you do with a plane? The best thing to do and say, hey, Boeing, take this plane and refit it. And Boeing probably would do that. It would replace parts, but what do they do now? Where do they go? Saying, hey, Boeing, please, take this plane and refit it. And you know what the Boeing's answer would be? They say, oh yeah, sure, just let us show you something, something like that. Not Boeing, sorry, Airbus, but the answer would be absolutely same. So they basically started cannibalizing that plane right on the field. Probably saying the parts to the highest bidder. Different airlines would show up. Hey, we want that tail. We want that rudder or something like that. It's pretty bad, But that's what probably is Going, investigation? What investigation? You know what happened to Prigozhin? The plane allegedly was shot, okay? But the thing is, once there's a fatal, well, any kind of accident, especially fatal accident, and the plane crashes, there's a special organization, International Aviation Committee, MAC, and it starts investigating every single time after there's a crash. And it's usually a very long, thorough investigation. They come up with results, it's public and so forth. They didn't start investigating Prigozhin's plane crash. There was an official inquiry to them from reporters saying, are you doing this investigation? And they simply truly said, like, they honestly answered, no, we're not. And, the reporters asked, well, why not? And I said, well, that is none of your business. So no investigation. It doesn't surprise me a bit. What are they going to find? Say, hey, this part should have been replaced 6 months ago and it wasn't, and finally failed, the hydraulic system. Okay, I think they'll be like, and why wasn't it replaced? Well, they don't have any answer. That's why they're not going to investigate. I think they know perfectly well what happened. Jason Carney, thank you so much for coming and supporting a huge deal. Jason, as usual, you are the champion of supporting Inside Russia. Thank you so much from me and my family. We talk about you with my wife. Thank you. And thanks for gifting sponsorship to 5 people. I appreciate it very much. Thank you. David Starbuck, welcome to Undercover in Russia. It's a higher tier. I appreciate it very much. Welcome to sponsorship and thanks for generous support. Thank you. Leitmotif for me. It's good to hear you laugh. Thank you. I like to laugh. But doesn't happen often these days. Where is Waldo? Where is Putin? Vero Beach, Florida. Hey, friends, again. This guy, the head of province of Udmurtia, the governor, he was talking to the guy who appeared to be Putin, okay? And he was talking publicly, and he was addressing the guy, Vladimir Anatolievich, instead of Vladimir Vladimirovich. Now, every governor knows what Putin's name is. And that guy knows too. But he also knew who he was sitting right in front of him. And the governor knew that guy's real name. And he was just addressing that guy by his real name. Vladimir Anatolievich, plain and simple. Susie Mailer, more people fleeing Russia to avoid the draft, more in Breakfast Club. Breakfast Club is growing. There are around 970 people, 7+100 in a Telegram group, and around a couple hundred without joining into a Telegram, just, So it's growing. It's growing big time. More people come, yes, every week, I would say every day. I don't see a huge increase in Russian men fleeing Russia to avoid the draft right now. Everyone's been quieted down. Everyone's been relaxed. The government's done a pretty darn good job in relaxing people, saying, hey, we don't need mobilization. There's one politician come out every single day and says, there's no need in mobilization. No worries. We're not going to lie to you. We're not going to mobilize you. And this is exactly what Peskov was saying 2 days before the mobilization was announced. On the 19th, he said, right now, there's no need in mobilization. On 21st, Putin announced mobilization, This is how it works. But amazingly, there's not a huge number of Russian men fleeing right now. They will try as soon as mobilization will start. I'm not saying it'll be announced. Most likely not. It's going to be done covertly. But it's going to be too late for them because the cell will be closed. Jamie, thank you so much. Putin, pity about Prigozhin plane crash today. Medvedev, no, that's happening tomorrow. Yes, it's been a pretty known anecdote. Thank you. It's funny. And it's spot on too. Thanks for the support. And we have a new sponsor, Debbie Bonnets. Welcome to Inside Russia. Thank you. 3 more minutes and we will pray. Alexander Mayer, Thomas Nesmith, Deborah, Vasco Marks, Pamela J, Tor Silverstone. Thank you, courtesy of Jason Carney. You are sponsors of the channel. Everyone, please come back on Saturday. There will be a private stream for sponsors and patrons. Last stream, I walked around Tashkent a little bit, showing what Tashkent is all about. It was fun. Caesars, howdy. Constantine, similar scenario as aviation is from Rosatom. That cannot expand the nuclear plant in Hungary without the Franco-German control technology system. You know what? I'm not very familiar with nuclear power plants. My understanding, I can be wrong, but this is my understanding that most, if not everything, is done in-house in Russia. But perhaps some components could be done in other countries. What I am against, my stand on the war with Ukraine. You know how I support Ukraine. My stand on the sanctions for Rosatom, I don't think they should be applied at all, because too great of a risks, not just for Russia, but for the entire world. I mean, look what happened at Chernobyl. So shouldn't be any sanctions placed on Rosatom. I don't think there has been any. Okay, so I think safety should come here first. But again, Franco-German control technology system, I believe you. It's perhaps for the new construction for the nuclear plant in Hungary. Expansion. Okay, I know that Rosatom has been kicked out of Hanhikivi in Finland. That's a project that we were working on. So we lost our contract. No complaints here, just that's the fact. We've been working on that for a very long time. We were working on that for a long time. Jekyll N, thank you so much from Australia. Fantastic to see you. Long time no see. Thank you. And let me answer a couple questions besides super chats. Ferrari guy, unless our Russian culture goes through kind of a cathartic grief of what did we do wrong, how do we fix ourselves rather than the current outlawed blame, I just don't see hope for progress. Gosh. It's a very deep comment. Okay, thank you, friend. I gotta tell you this. There were times during the last year when I was near the point that I lost hope for the Russians and Russia. But then a lot of times people in this chat, including, they would come back and say, hey, don't lose hope. And this is the worst thing you can do, to lose hope. I still have hope. I know that there are some Russians inside Russia decent, and the change can happen, and it can happen with them first. So I am not losing hope, and I am hoping that they will do exactly that. They will ask this question: where did we turn wrong? How do we fix this? How do we fix ourselves? And you know what gives me hope also? The Germans. The Germans fixed themselves. They made themselves shine. They made themselves a hope for the rest of us. And I think that Russia can can at least become normal, somewhat normal again. Thank you. My friends, it's time to finish the stream. Thank you so very much. I appreciate you coming and giving me a chance. Thank you, thank you, thank you. My honor. By the way, I would like to tell everyone that we found, with help of Frank Müller from Germany, we found a way how to turn on different subtitles, including German. You go to subtitles, press once, it gives you automatically generated English. You press twice, second time, it gives you a choice between pretty much all the languages in the world. So you can choose any language: Swedish, German, Italian, French, perhaps even Russian, but I don't even go there. So thank you. Friends, I'd like to invite everyone to pray along with me. Thank you so much. If you're religious, please join in prayer. If you're not, please join in sending people good wishes, good vibes, good energy. You can call it whatever you want. Thank you so much. Let's do it. And before I start praying, again, if you want to be placed on the list, please email me, or better not email, but leave messages here. So Mommy and Lorna see them, and that they will message me later. I will be refreshing the list every 2 weeks or so. Thank you so much. So, everyone, let's do it. Thank you. Dear Lord Jesus Christ, thank you so much for giving us this day. Thank you for putting food on our tables and keeping our homes dry, putting roofs over our heads. Thank you. Thank you for surrounding us with people who we love and who love us. Dear Lord, please give us wisdom to keep the skies above our children's heads peaceful. Please give us wisdom to raise our children in a way that when they become adults, they will make this place a better world, will never engage in any wars. For now, please keep our children safe and healthy. Dear Lord, please stop the bloodshed in Ukraine. The country has suffered so much, and the people they just need a break. Reach out and touch the hearts of people responsible and capable of making the decision. Do whatever necessary to be done to wake them up from their lethargic sleep so they see what has been done. They get terrified and make the decision to stop the bloodshed. Please help every Ukrainian who has been affected, answer their prayers, and make their wishes come true. Dear Lord, please help my country, Russia, assemble the army of your strongest angels with sharpest swords, led by Saint Michael in shining armor, and send them as heavenly avalanche onto this earth to get rid of the demons who have hijacked my country, Russia. Please have angels run Russia, make it peaceful, make it loving, make it loved, make it respecting and respected. Please help everyone who is traveling, send them safe travels. Help everyone who is seeking for asylum, running from evil. Help all single mothers who are struggling, raising their children, trying to make ends meet. Help all the Ukrainians who are suffering from the strikes, Russian strikes, missiles and bombs. Please keep everyone safe. Please help all the hungry, the addicted, the homeless, the jobless, the depressed, the sick, the ones who are not feeling well about themselves, who are losing their faith and struggling with their faith. Please shine your heavenly light upon those people, surround them in your love and warmth, so they will feel it and they will feel better about themselves. They will feel your support and love, and they will stand tall, and then they will have another chance to have a happy, good life. Dear Lord, thank you so much for bringing us all together here into this community. Thanks for allowing us to pray together. Please help everyone who is praying along with me or simply watching us pray. Please hear and answer everyone's prayer and make everyone's wish come true. Thank you. Dear Lord, I'd like to mention a few people and ask you to help them. They need your help. They are Jason Connor, who is having a surgery today. Please send them good doctors with strong, good hands, so the surgery is performed well and his recovery is well also. Please help Janice Stevenson, Jay Spike, Leslie Fleming's daughter, Bas Salmon, Sam from Kiev, Eileen, Wayne, who is continues to fight 2 cancers. Please send them your help. Send them angels and send strength to him and recovery to him and strength and faith to his loved ones. Ann Larson, her family and daughter Hannah. Liz Dumbrell and her family, Darla. White Lightning, George Ruberty, Dave Strains, Pam. Frank in Texas, Vasilin Lubomirov, Susie Mailer, Gloria Roberts, Yelena, Natasha, Jake, Michael, Oля, Dasha, Bonnie, Svetlana, Randolph, Angelic at Life, Mr. Dean Spooner and his church called Our Savior Lutheran Church, Lisa Cumbrian, Lori Miles' husband, Karen, Randolph, Grace Philosophy, David Porter, everyone who's in Chernovtsi, Ukraine, Stefan from Sweden, the Highwayman, Joe and Lee McMahon, Taylor Fleming, Buzz Simmons, Susan Marshall, Pamela J., and Michael Yukon. Dear Lord, I'd like to ask you to help a little girl, Sarah, who's struggling. She needs recovery. Please help. Send her angels, send her recovery, and answer her parents' prayers. Please send strength to her parents. Please help all the children from Ukraine who have suffered in this terrible disaster. And please help all the children who are not feeling well. Send them recovery. Thank you so much, dear Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Thank you, friends, for coming. Thank you for giving me one more chance. You're very generous. You're absolutely awesome and you rock. And this is my great pleasure and honor to have you here. I will come back tomorrow. We can count on that. I will have another message, and I hope you like them. I'll try to make it as interesting as I can. And before signing off, I would like to thank you and ask you to, as usual, finish the stream by saying along what I'm going to say with me. Please say it as loud as you can. Carthago delenda est.